Laia, it's so wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining us all the way from Denmark. So if you notice, it's a little bit darker in her. It's what, 8 p.m. over there?
It's 8 p.m., but it's always dark here, so we don't mind.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to join us this evening. Um, I had the pleasure of meeting you in person at the last Folk Alliance International Conference, of which you are a board member. And it was such a pleasure to get to know you. Um, if folks haven't read your bio, you are the chair of the Nordic, as well as being on the board of Folk Alliance International. You are the chair of the Nordic Folk Alliance, and recently got promoted to the director of Tempi Music, or Tempi, which is the music export office of Denmark, which is so exciting. Congratulations about that, and lucky for them to
Thank
have
you.
you there.
I
It's
hope.
they are. It's really, really, really exciting. So we're going to start by doing I'm going to just ask you about like a general overview of what countries are in your region, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a history of how the Nordic Folk Alliance came together.
Mhm. Well, that's a very big question, but maybe I can start by adding another title in my head, which
Please.
is I'm also a chairperson of the Nordic Folk Council, which is an organization who is like an umbrella organization where all the folk organizations from the Nordic countries who works with folk music and traditional dance, we meet together and it's just sharing best practice. It's a forum for all those organizations. So I'm also the chair of that organization. I think it's important.
That's
So
amazing.
I know a lot of about the Nordics, even though I'm not born in Denmark. I was born in Barcelona in Spain. Yeah, so to give an overview, I guess we are interested here talking about the Nordic territories and specifically also about Nordic Folk Alliance. So maybe I can start by giving an overview of what is the Nordic territory. I don't know if everybody is aware which countries are part of it and how we function and how we organize ourselves internally. But Nordic countries are situated in the northern Eastern European part. We are Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Faroe Islands, and Greenland. Those are the 6 considered Nordic territory. And then you have something internal, a smaller group called the Scandinavian countries, which are Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. And the Scandinavian countries are defined because they have the same root on the language. For example, we can understand between each other the Danes talking to the Swedes and to the Norwegians, but we cannot understand the Finnish. It has completely another different language. But then we have also a little bigger territory, which is the Nordic Baltic area. And you have probably heard, and I think the last session was with Estonia. So Estonia belongs to the Baltic countries together with Lithuania and other regions. So it's quite a wide region, but when we talk about, again, I repeat, it's Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Greenland, and Faroe Islands. And during the last 5 years, all the export offices, music export offices of the Nordic countries, we have been working collaboratively. We decided that those countries, for example, Denmark only has 6 million people population. It's a very, very, very tiny country in Europe. Though you all hear about it, about our hair and our food and our Danish design and furniture. But in reality, it's a very, very small country. So we decided, and the same goes by our partners. So we decided that it made a lot of sense that when we work in bigger territories, as it can be Canada or the US, we work in a block together, and we created a brand called Nordic Folk. We have a lot of commonalities in our traditional music, so it made sense to group it together when we go out in bigger markets, let's call it like that. And that's actually how Nordic Folk Alliance was born, because we wanted to create a strong connection, especially with the North American market, Canada and the US. And we wanted to present that brand as a together community brand between the Nordic countries. And we created a conference, which is called Nordic Folk Alliance. And we made a friendship with our friends from Folk Alliance International in the US. And we asked them, could we put both brands, Nordic Folk and Folk Alliance, together and work together to make us known in your territory, and also to make you known in our very small territory. But we're gonna go later to see that it's a very special and interesting territory in Northern Europe. Then we decided to make a conference where we had showcases of all the Nordic upcoming artists who is interesting, who released a new album. Well, you know how showcase works. We have all the industry from the Nordic countries coming. It's a small conference. We are 200 people, but for the Nordic countries, counting that we are 6 million people, small countries, it's a lot of delegates. And then we also have visitors from the North American countries. And this year, for example, we have a partnership with Mondial Montreal, who are bringing a Canadian band, Cedric Lama. I don't know if you know him, a very, very talented musician. We saw him at Mondial Montreal, and we decided to invite him. And our friends from Mondial are presenting him and joining us. For the first year, we have a Canadian partnership. So that's a little bit, in a nutshell, what is Nordic Folk Alliance. It's our local music conference.
Can I ask you a bit of
Ontario.
Can I ask you a little question while we're talking about the conference? Very exciting that you'll have Canadian presence there, and we hope that continues to grow. Are artists from outside that region able to apply though? So if you were, just like an independent artist that was interested in performing at the conference, would you be able to apply to showcase there?
Yeah, I would say if you are from the North American market, yes, because that's the focus of our conference. It's an exchange between the North American market and the Nordic market. So if you are based in the Nordic countries or in the North American market, you can apply. Yes.
Perfect. And who usually comes to the conference? Do you find that it's like, do you bring in buyers from festivals or concert presenters who are usually attending the conference?
Yeah, I would say the wide spectrum of our folk industry, and probably it's the same in Canada, that many of our delegates have many hats also. It could be like a booking agency, which is actually a record label, or a festival who runs a venue, for example. But yeah, we have majorly all the buyers coming and all the sellers, all the industry we have. So from the Nordic region, I would say everybody is there who works with our music genre, of course.
And does the conference, is it in the same place every year or does it travel around?
It's a traveling conference. It has been the last 3 editions. Of course, we had the break with all the COVID. It didn't happen for 2 years. And then it happened in Sweden, in Gothenburg, in the city of Gothenburg. And this year, we are very happy that it's happening in Denmark, in the city of Roskilde.
Nice.
And many of you might have heard about the very famous festival called Roskilde Festival from Denmark, which is the biggest festival in Europe. They are this year our partners. So we are presenting the conference together with them.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this festival and what makes it so unique?
It's a very, very long story. Roskilde Festival, it's a very special festival setup, I would say. I think it has 90,000 or 100,000 audience coming.
Wow.
But what is special about it is that it's a very competitive festival. It has one of the most interesting lineups as any commercial festival could have in Europe, but all the festival is run by volunteers. And the interesting part of Roskilde Festival is their socio-political engagement, because all the money that they receive for making the festival happen and selling tickets and sponsorships, they reserve, of course, a minimum for being able to make next year's festival. But whatever surplus goes above this minimum, it goes straight to a foundation that supports projects that has social, cultural impact and work with music all over the world. So they support like projects in Ghana, projects in Iran, in Beirut, and it all has to be a little bit politically engaged, and especially with inclusion and diversity. So I think it's a very, very emotive festival, and it's amazing what they pull off. Everybody, almost every Danish person is a volunteer in that festival. And we all work, including me. I am volunteering in the artist check-in. I am the one giving the bracelets.
Nice.
Actually. So everybody's involved somehow in the festival, and we are all very happy to participate. And then when we see where the money is awarded to during the year, it's something. And then that festival is run by volunteers, but it's as competitive as any other commercial festival. And it's actually the biggest in Europe. So
that's incredible. That's is that kind of the spirit of that festival? Is that just unique to that one, or are the other festivals, is that like a kind of a theme that's concurrent with other festivals across the region?
Denmark has a lot of like volunteer tradition, but specifically like Roskilde, no, it's quite a special one. And in the other Nordic countries, it's a little bit different. Yes, I'm talking right now about Denmark. The Nordic countries has more like standardized festivals where people get paid.
Yeah.
To work. Of course, there are some professionals who has a lot of responsibility in Roskilde who gets paid, obviously. But in general, it's built up by volunteers.
I have had the huge pleasure to get to go to one of your festivals, at the Tuner Festival. And I was shocked to see when I went there. The first thing when I went to the check-in was that they have clocks on the wall, and one of the clocks was Winnipeg time, which if you're as a Winnipegger myself, we don't see our name out there that often, especially not you don't expect it to see it so far away from home. But there was a very special connection between Tuner and the Winnipeg Folk Festival and community. And so I was really surprised to get there and see some like very big commonalities between Canadian folk festivals and that festival. And in Canada, I think that we forget how unique our festivals are. So we do things like workshops where we have like multiple performers on the stage at the same time, and people are expected to kind of jam and play with each other, and there's like collaboration there. And when artists come from away or are new to the scene, it can sometimes be a shock, and we forget that it's kind of a unique thing. Is that are there kind of idiosyncratic ways that the Nordic region presents festivals? Do you have like is there something unique about the way that you do your festivals in kind of like a general way, not just with Roskilde, but
yeah, well, Tuna Festival is a very, very, very special festival, and it's very unique in the European continent, I would say, and they are actually specializing in presenting the music as you do and your music. No, in the Nordic countries, we don't have other festivals like Tona. Tona is unique. But one thing, and because I'm an outsider, I can also see what's particular about the Nordic festivals, and they are organized in a very communal way, in a community. It's all about the community getting together, singing together, dancing together. And actually, there's a lot of this dancing. They have these ball things where you dance together. And this is happening recurrently in all the folk festivals. So I would say that's the uniqueness of that it's very connected to the dance and to the community spirit. So I would say that's the unique
Absolutely.
thing
Yeah.
about the festival here in this region. Ghana is special, Roskilde is very special. They are very different.
Yeah. There, someone just said in the Q&A that Tuner and Roskilde were both produced by Karsten, who, yeah, is a very, he's a whole unique person in himself. But that's neat that there's that connection there between the two festivals there. So now getting outside of Denmark, are there folk, like specifically folk festivals that are happening all over the region as well?
Yeah, we have many. Actually, I would say, and I wanted to talk about this, that the Nordic region is very small, but it's very rich in festivals. I mean, there are so many festivals and venues that works with our music. I will talk about the biggest ones. For example, in Finland, there is one called Kaustinen Folk Festival. Maybe some have heard about it. It's a very fiddle-centered festival because Kaustinen is a little bit like the crypt of all the Finnish fiddle masters. And it's the very small town where almost every kid plays the fiddle. It's like a movie. Like almost every kid plays the fiddle and they grow up and their grandpa teach them and their father, and yeah. So they have a festival there, and it's actually quite long festival. I think it was 9 days this year, and it's very, very tiny stages. I think they had 20, 27, 29 stages organized by different forening. Wow, how can I say forening? It's like communities, groups of it could be dancers, it can be musicians, and then it's a very magic festival. I would recommend it if anybody
That
is
sounds
interested
like
in
actual heaven to
Nordic
me. Yeah.
fiddle music. I don't know if anybody knows Antti Palonen is an accordion player. He's amazing. I was in a stage with 5 people. We were dancing in a stable with Antti Palonen playing accordion for us. I was like, what is this? So if anybody is interested in exploring the Nordic traditional music, Kaustinen Folk Music Festival is the place to be. Then in Norway, they have Forde Folk Festival. Maybe some people has heard about it. They usually have a very good lineup. It's a little bit more commercial than Kaustinen, but it's also on the traditional side. I would say it's a mix between Roskilde and Kaustinen. So they stay somewhere in the middle. They have strong fiddle program, but also, other kinds of music. And then you have in Norway another festival called Oslo Wall. Maybe some people have heard about it. This one focuses more into global roots music, but still it has some folk music. Sweden has a festival called Urkult, and if I'm not mistaken, and if someone from Urkult sees this video, I think it's also run by volunteers, and it's a quite big festival, and it's a mix between global roots music and traditional fiddle Nordic music. Yeah.
Do you do those festivals tend to bring in artists from other countries? You said some of them were global routes, but do you find a lot of do they end up booking, international artists at them?
Yeah, all the festivals I named, they all have international headliners and national. Yeah, both.
Incredible. And did we get, I don't know if, did we mention Finland or Norway?
Yeah, Finland, Kaustinen, Norway, Sweden,
okay.
Urkul. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I should have been checking them off.
Make sure we get. Yeah. I haven't talked about Iceland.
There we go.
They have Iceland Airwaves. Everybody knows it, I think. That's more a showcase festival. And they have a portion of the program where you can see some artists in our music genre, but it's more a general music conference. I mean, yeah, it's a very small country, Iceland. So I don't think they can make like several conferences for music genres. Iceland Airwaves, yes.
Yeah, and that's also one that we haven't we haven't gone to conferences yet. There's quite a few conferences outside of the Nordic Folk one. Do you find that there's outside of the Nordic Folk Alliance conference, are there other conferences that are good opportunities, you would say, for folk artists coming from outside the region?
Yeah, there's a very interesting Norwegian conference called Folkelarm. Folkelarm. They present, traditional music to the Norwegian market, only Norwegian, not Nordic. And as far as the other countries, they don't have like a specific conference. But of course, they have general conference. In Denmark, we have Spot Festival. In Norway, they have Bylarm, which is quite known. And in Finland, they have two conferences. I can't remember the names. And then you have Tallinn Music Week. That's in the Baltic region, but they also look into the Nordic. Tallinn Music Week.
So let's say do a case study. Let's say you have the great fortune to get booked by one of these fantastic festivals. How would you recommend that someone go about trying to book a tour? We can start with something like with Denmark. So you get a anchor date, plane tuner. Every place is different. So some places you need promoters, some places you need an agent, some regions you can just access venues as an independent artist. How would you recommend, what's the best way to kind of get a foot in the door to try and book a tour around, let's say, a festival date?
I'm very happy you asked this question because you are handing me the opportunity to talk about the network system we have of venues in the Nordic countries, which is extremely interesting. So we have many venues who are subsidized by our arts councils and government. So we have a very, very, very healthy circuit of venues. So yeah, as an external band or even agent, it might be a little bit complicated to figure out how this system works. So I would recommend to have an agency who's helping you in the Nordic countries, but it's not that hard neither. And I would say if any artist who's listening here now to us and wants to tour the Nordic countries, woo, we lost Rosalind.
I'm still here.
She's back. If any artist who's listening here, we are 15, I think. If any of the 15 artists who are here wants to tour the Nordic countries and are a little bit lost, and you play at Trona Festival, for example, please feel free to contact the export offices. That's why we are here. We can help you navigate a little bit or recommend you booking agencies who can help you set up all these concerts. Another thing that I wanted to talk about venues and how it works, also festival, is that in the Nordic countries, we have a minimum salary that is paid to musicians. And that is called the tariff. And the tariff is set by, we have very strong musicians union. And it's an agreement that every year the union does with the government, and the tariff is like the absolute minimum that an artist has to get paid. Let me make the conversion into Canadian dollars. Give me just 1 second if I have well, it's 2,200 and no 2,750 kronas, if I'm not mistaken. It's just because it follows the inflation rates, and every April they put it up, which is when Nordic Folk Alliance is happening, and it always get us.
Get a little. Sorry, so
Yeah.
just to clarify, so this
Yeah.
is money that's given to artists as a minimum, like from the government, like directly from the government to the artist, or this is like a minimum wage, or sorry, minimum fee that artists get paid at venues.
No, we have something, it's called the regional venues, and regional venues receive subsidies from our Arts Council, our government, yearly. And then from those subsidies, they are obligated to pay these tariffs to musicians.
So it's like
And
a minimum, like a minimum.
yeah, and it's per
fee.
musician, not
Yeah.
per band. It's true. Wait, I have it here. Just a second, huh? I'm a little bit slow with the numbers.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. If anyone that's listening is great at conversion, throw that
Okay,
in the
and
Q&A.
Canadian dollars, let's see. No, I made a mistake, of course. Anyways,
There's nothing like
we can continue
you know,
talking, and I will figure out.
doing some like live math. That's yeah, that wasn't in the job description.
Now,
So
$537
$537 per
per
musician. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah, and also Norway has the same system, and Sweden. I don't think Finland has it, but yeah, it's set up
Get
by
on board.
our musician unions. Yeah,
That's well, that's incredible.
yeah, and
Taking notes for our musician.
any public concert has to pay that minimum, and it's per band member.
That's incredible. And I'm assuming that that's even if you're an international act as well, because that would be in their best interest too.
Yeah, at least probably your fee is gonna be something fair. The
Yeah.
fee offer you're gonna get, it's gonna be something which is workable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
because
that's why
know
I think it's a very, very special area. Musicians might have an interest to come here and learn all this and build networks here, because it can if you are lucky to succeed here, it can generate some income.
Wow. That's really neat. And yeah, I think we have a lot to learn from that. That's very cool.
It also has its drawbacks. I mean, I'm not gonna bring them
I'm
here.
sure no system is perfect, but you know,
no, everything is great.
So there's you talked about the like kind of performing arts centers and that, but can you speak to some of the other types of gigs that folks can access when they tour around? Like, yeah, like are there other places that you can be looking outside of the performing arts centers?
Yeah, actually, the Nordic countries has a quite interesting church circuit where churches are open for music, and they function. They have their own, how it's called, the ceremonies, or but
Services.
then they're services, but they also host concerts. And actually there's quite a lot of them. There is a circuit where you can perform in several churches in the Nordic countries, for example. Then you have also ferries. There are a lot of ferries in between countries, and they do have a stage.
Yes.
And sometimes they book. There is actually most fun conference in one of these ferries. It's called Folklandia, and it's a whole weekend of folk musicians and dancers in a boat, in a ferry,
Yes.
having a blast.
That sounds ridiculous.
That's one of the best conferences here. But it's more, this one is less business oriented. It's more like for enthusiasts. I don't like to call it amateurs. It's for folk enthusiasts. So it's open to all the public.
Yeah, we do our Folk Music Ontario conference mostly in like a hotel, like similar to Folk Alliance, right?
Nice, yeah.
But like, what if we were on a boat? You know, I feel like we haven't explored this. It's an option.
Wow, I'm very impressed about Joel. He's getting all the names right.
Right on it.
Great
Good job,
work,
Joel.
Thank you.
That's really interesting. So, in Canada, we're very used to driving long distances to get from one place to another. What is and I know that each country is going to be different. But can you speak a little bit about like kind of routing and what a good, if you're going to tour the region, like what a useful routing would be for an artist?
Yeah, I'm sad, very, very sad to say that it will be flying.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look very tiny on the map, but they are very big countries. And to cross Sweden, it takes more than 12 hours driving. And basically make it to Finland, Helsinki from Stockholm, you can take the ferry. Yes. And if you tour in just one country, you can maybe make it internally by train or driving. But if you aim to the whole Nordic region, yeah. If you want to have a schedule of one gig every day, then you need to fly. Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
But we are more and more seeing people driving. Yeah. It's affordable, let's say.
Yeah, I was gonna say only 12 hours. Like
For a Canadian, it's like, what?
It's like a 26-hour drive between Winnipeg and Toronto. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
12 hours. We can do it.
That's nothing. Yeah. But
And in the
it
snow
all
too.
depends. Yeah. Well, plenty of snow here, but it all depends on your schedule. When do you have to be there? When is your sound check? Yeah. So yeah, you can drive it. Depends on your schedule.
Elise, fantastic fiddler. Shout out to Elise Bohr, is asking if you can please talk a little bit about renting backline or musical equipment for touring. And I'll just add to that, like if that's something that's usual, or if usually you would expect that folks would provide that, or if you are renting, where would you rent that from, and is that easy to do or affordable?
Depends. If you are asking for a very traditional nerdy instrument, yeah, maybe there are difficulties, but I think we are very well sorted about backline companies here. It's not an issue. And you always have a lot of musicians also who can like provide you. I know there was we even found here, I think, how it's called, gamelan once. Indonesian huge instrument. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's either through professional companies, network, and the venues has standard backline, and it then depends on how your agent is gonna deal. What's the deal with them? If they're gonna hire or rent the backline for you, or you will find it. I know, for example, now we have Cedric Lamar, and he plays on a grand piano. That's always a little bit a challenge. It's not always available to have a grand piano, but yeah, most of the instruments are okay to find. Yeah.
Do you have like specific companies? Like, sometimes there's in different countries, there's like a company that has more of a, maybe a monopoly or has a bigger presence as a place that you can rent equipment.
Yeah, here it's in each region. Yeah.
Look it up.
Each venue will know who is their recommended service. It's very local here.
And with that, speaking about renting too, when you're talking, can you rent? Is it easy to rent vehicles, and is it affordable really to rent vehicles to tour?
Mm, I would say the Nordic region one has to understand, it's one of the most costly regions of the Nordic countries. For us, it's affordable, but not for a Southern European, it's very expensive to come here. So it all depends on the perspective. I would say for a Canadian, it might be a little bit costly to rent a van or a car, but it's not impossible. Yeah.
Cool. When you mentioned like a while back that folks can talk to like a music export office there, and you are now the director of the music export office. Can you explain a little bit about what role the export office plays and how it interacts with international musicians?
I'm the director of the Roots Music Export Office. We have 5 export offices in Denmark, one divided by genres: roots music, jazz music, classical and experimental music, rock, hip hop, and urban, and one for mainstream. And the role we have, first of all, the Nordic export offices, we work a lot in block, especially out in your markets. And the function we have, I think we are very well organized, and I think we are one of the best organized export offices in the world. And the way we interact with people who wants to come in is that we can be a network provider and an information center for any artist or any business person who wants to come to our country. We can map out for you if you have any questions. Of course, we cannot book any concert for you. We are not booking agency, but we can give you some leads that can help you book your own tour, or connect you with that record label or that distribution company, whatever is your need. We actually have our zones very mapped out. We know who is who and who are the relevant people in our country. So we are actually a knowledge center. And please use us. We are there for that.
That's so helpful, and yeah, what an incredible service to provide. That's so neat. There was a question here about the Urkult Festival that had a slow touring clause, and I haven't heard of this before. This is really interesting. So a slow touring clause that requested that the artist not fly and take the train instead. Have you heard of this before? And is this like a common practice or emerging practice?
Yeah, I heard about it. I know Urkult, they had for many years, when it was not so fancy to have focus in sustainability. They had it already. But no, that's not common. That's not common in the Scandinavian countries yet. It might come though.
Yeah, that's an interesting, yeah, I haven't, certainly we've heard of slow touring, but it's been like a pretty, yeah, we had an interesting conversation about it. This is a digression, but we had an interesting conversation. Yeah. A conversation about it at our conference in 2022. And, the folks from the climate emergency place said like the artists aren't the one making the footprint. It's the audience coming in. Like you have one artist, one band traveling around. They're not exactly, I don't think we can really point the finger at them for, causing global warming, but 10,000 people traveling to an arena for a concert.
Yeah. But actually this discussion is not off topic at all, because we are discussing the same in the Nordic countries, and more the festivals are receiving more subsidies to establish sustainable practices. So we are seeing very different ways of incorporating sustainability in events of all kinds. Like I'm not only talking about festivals, venues too. So I think we will see interesting results very soon of those small injections of subsidies into this event community or scene or
Yeah.
industry. Yeah.
That's have you seen it manifest in other ways, like other sustainability practices?
Yeah, of course, there is like reusable cups that we've gone so quite far with this, but we haven't seen yet like what happens with touring and artists. Like, yeah, it's still complicated.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that
Mm.
there's it's it's an interesting conversation right now. And it's yeah, hopefully that, you know, it's you know, I got your number now. So I feel like it's nice to have that it's nice to keep in touch to hear what the festivals over there are doing and how your what the sustainability practices are over there. That's really cool.
Well, actually, thanks to Mundial Montreal, we came to Mundial. We were a delegation of 8 Danish. No, we were 11 Danish
Wow.
delegates this year. And yeah, there was a project called Nordic Regions, and we came visit through that project. And actually, Canada inspired us to create one of these block booking networks
Mm.
that I heard you have. And actually, we came back, and now there are a few festivals talking between them, trying to create these block booking networks because we think it's a more sustainable way to bring international bands if we can offer several concerts instead of bringing them for one concert and sending them back to their country. So thank you,
That's really
Canada,
exciting. Yeah,
for the inspiration. And
that's very
yeah, they
exciting.
are developing the network right now. They are working on it. And actually, if anybody's at Nordic Folk Alliance, this network is going to have a workshop with the Canadian network. So we are looking forward to see what's the outcome. Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah, that's really good news for international artists to know that they'll be able to um
Yeah,
yeah,
and I think
that
in terms of sustainability, the knowledge sharing is super important and inspire each other and see what kind of solutions we could have. And yeah, I think the knowledge exchange is super important at this stage.
yeah. So back to my case study of the artist who has the anchor gig. They've booked a tour of halls and churches and pubs and all sorts of things around the region. How would you suggest and what are like the mechanisms and the people um, involved like that they promote their music and they promote their tour and are there should they be contacting a publicist or is there other grassroots ways to promote themselves before they come out?
Yeah, I'm sad to say that the territory is too small for publicists to survive. So we have very few PR agencies and also very few outlets where the media can be shown or can go out. There are very few outlets. So in that aspect, if there are a few publicists who works in the whole region, but I would say is contacting other artists from your same music genre and or the export offices. We are all very generous and we want to share. And as for getting exposure, coming to Nordic Folk Alliance or getting to play in any other showcase festival, that would be the best way to enter the market. And you don't necessarily need to play. You can also come to Nordic Folk Alliance and start networking. You're gonna meet. We are only 200, so it's like you cannot. It's unavoidable that you're gonna meet all the industry here. And we have several mingling sessions, networking opportunities, facilitations, workshops, panels where you can meet all the people who's here. So I think the best entrance to a territory is to go to our conferences
um
or send your agent to your conferences.
what are the dates of your conference?
Wow, in 1 month, 18, 19, 20th of April. So we are
Wow.
right now, you don't know today. I've been in so,
I can
so
imagine, but
many. Yeah. We are 1 month to go. It's always in April. Nordic Folk Alliance. Then we have Spot Festival or local conference general one. We also have a stage for roots, global roots and folk music. That's in May. So it's like
great.
on a row. And Bilarm, if I'm not mistaken, is in autumn. And Folk Alarm is in November. Kaustinen Folk Festival it has a delegation, business delegation. So it has a part of showcase also. They are set in July, and Tallinn Music Week is also in May after Spot Festival, the Danish one. So yeah.
There's a great question here asking about are there any visa requirements to come and perform?
I don't think for Canadians. At least we don't have for going there. We had to pay this ETA. Yeah, I don't think you are required.
But to perform in the Nordic regions and in any of the countries? No. Sweet.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's
I never do it this way. I always do it that way. But I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody who's listening has had any experience with that and has anything to pipe in there, because I know that there's folks that have been there, done that. So yeah, if anybody has any insights to share on that, feel free to put that into the Q&A. Feel free to put an A into the Q&A if anybody has had experienced that. Oh, Derek also says no visa required. Amazing. Yeah, and it's I think that and there was a question from Tony right off the hop asking if
Hey,
there was
Tony.
Tony says hey.
Tony, I know, Tony. Tony, please, mercy.
So he was wondering if you guys had talked to SEMA on a partnership to bring more Canadian artists. But I think that you'll find, we had our first session was about going to the US, and it's very prohibitive. It's very cost prohibitive. It's hard for folks to tour. We have the same visa requirements and work requirements that all the internationals do. And there's proposed fee changes to like make it higher, even if it doesn't go through this time, it might again. So, I think a lot of folks this is like a very timely conversation, because I think a lot of folks now that are planning their tours, for the next few years are looking to other markets and where else they can explore, other than the US, which is, they're right beside us. So that's our natural first thought, I think, as Canadians. So yeah, it's I guess I don't know if this is a question or not, but do you see room to have more partnerships with Canadians and have do you think that there's room to have more Canadian artists coming up to the region and at the showcase events and such to build those partnerships?
Yes, and it's about this visa problem that the US has. As Denmark, we prefer to go to tour in Canada, and actually
Yes,
we find much more opportunities and much more interest in our music than in the US. And the fact that our artists only need to pay, I don't remember how much it was, this ETA, but it was like $12, something like that. Yeah, and all the border experience is much nicer in Canada. And also, I do believe that there is a lot of future or a lot of possibilities in our industry talking to each other and making alliances between Canada and the Nordic countries. We also have a lot of commonalities in our folk music, especially Quebecian folk music, a lot of like fiddle tradition. And yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities. And I can speak for Tempi, for our export office. We want to focus in that. So everybody is welcome. Come talk to us. SEMA, yes. And I hope I come visit this year your conference.
Yeah, we would love that.
We can start talking and yeah, bring the delegation if possible. And make that our people talk to each other, and then yeah, things happen.
Amazing. Yeah, you're into fiddles. We can have a whole other whole
Oh,
other topic, and
Scandinavia.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
let's talk about fiddles. No, we can't. We're running out of time. We don't have time to talk about all of the Canadian fiddling, but another
yeah. So, but
another
I
time.
think we have much in common, and we have an understanding of the tradition in a
Yeah,
similar way, in a view, and it can enrich each other by exchange. So that's why I think it's very interesting that we cooperate in an export effort.
absolutely. Um, we have like 5 more minutes. If anybody has any questions, if not, I'm just going to talk about fiddling. No, just joking. I'm not. But if
I
anybody
I
does
can
have another,
explain you. I can explain you what is the hygge.
yeah, yes, please do.
We
Um,
haven't get there yet. No, it's
yeah.
very complicated.
Okay. I mean, we have like 7 minutes. Yeah, but
Oh,
if anyone does
so
have any more questions, please put it into the Q&A.
Tony, please send questions. I
Um,
met Tony in China Festival.
oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, these yeah, also shout out to Tony. Tony's great. We'll just spend I was going to talk about fiddles. We'll spend the rest of it talking about Tony. Just kidding. We're
Tony.
not going to do that either. Um, okay, but I maybe with the last little bit then um, I'll ask you about so you're a board member of Folk Alliance. What is the relationship between Folk Alliance and the Nordic Folk Alliance, and like what is the connection between the two organizations?
Uh, Actually, Folk Alliance has been there with us from the beginning, and through Angus, the former director, we had a partnership. They have been bringing some delegation to some delegates to Nordic Folk Alliance, but we are quite independent from Folk Alliance. So basically, they let us do whatever you want. But yeah, it's a way of using the brand each other and exchanging. So yeah, it's like a supportive partner. Like they put the stamp that this is worth it, and this is a good conference, and we feel part of it. And it's the same now with the Roskilde Festival coming into the partnership. It's kind of like a good stamp that yes, this is a good place to go.
Fantastic. A couple of questions popped up here. So I'm going to get to Elisa's question first, and then I'll get to yours, Blaze. It says, I've heard there's some difficulty with getting paid for gigs in Nordic regions if you don't have a Nordic bank account. Do you have advice for folks about how to either circumvent that or how to get the kind of bank account they would need to get paid from there?
Whoa, I never heard about this. Please tell me which venues and festivals. I'm gonna call them and tell them to set up a PayPal account.
That easy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know sometimes when you make international transferring for in banking, do you call it like money laundering? But it's
No,
a
I
lot of
think
like requests to you have
uh,
to show like it's difficult for the sender
mhm.
sometimes. It can become complicated.
Yeah, so like for there to be a currency exchange, I think money laundering is like illegal and like a whole different thing. But the
Yeah. But you have to go through a questionnaire,
oh,
like
to make sure
to
that
make
you aren't doing that.
sure
Yeah, nice.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
I guess if the fee is quite big, then
mhm.
they might be challenged about
Yeah.
that.
And do you know if there's like any sort of like if you go to the US, they have something called like a withholding tax where they'll reserve a portion of your of the fee until you file a tax return? No? It's great. Everyone go to the Nordic region. What a wonderful place this sounds like. The uh, uh, place said, what are some Danish indie folk artists that you recommend? Danish indie
Ooh,
folk artists.
yes. I would recommend. Oof, that's politically incorrect because I am working in the export.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I can give my personal recommendations. We have right now a band called Dreamers Circus. I don't know if anybody knows them. They are amazing. We have another band called Vic, who played at Nordic Bridges in Harbourfront Center, in the closing ceremony. We have a band called Ayse, who has Danish, Turkish, Kurdish background, who are also very good. Then we have other bands playing more jazz roots music, like the Kuti Mangos, and a band called Kalahar, who makes jazz, global roots, and electronic music. Who, don't get me started. I can just going. We have a very, very good songwriter called Ida Vinoe. She's more like on Americana. So we have a very wide spectrum of recommended bands from Denmark. Oh, and if you are into Viking, Heilung, go see that one. You will never forget it.
There put in the chat there that a good point that Norway uses krone, while the rest use euro.
Yeah, Denmark. No,
and Denmark too?
use crowns.
Yeah.
Sweden. Okay. Denmark use crowns. Sweden use crowns. Norway use crowns. Finland use euros. Iceland use euros.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Greenland and Faroe euros.
Okay, that's great to know. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Laia, it has been such a pleasure getting to chat with you. Thank you so much for making time outside of your work hours in the evening to talk with us today, and we very much look forward to keeping in touch.
Yes, and please, if anybody makes it to tour in the Nordic countries, please write me. I would like to meet you. Come for free in your concert and get a beer.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. And if anybody needs any tips or help, don't hesitate. You go tempi.nu and you're going to find my email there, or any of my team members. They're going to be helping you. And the same goes for all the Nordic export offices.
Yeah, we'll link to all we'll send out an email after that has all the links. Joel's been compiling many links to all of the things that we've been talking about. So
I believe you. He's amazing. He's getting everything. I'm getting like pop-ups, like, wow.
Yeah, Joel's the best.
Joel?
So he's but this will also be available afterwards on our YouTube channel. I think you just type in Folk Music Ontario. It'll be on our YouTube channel. And you'll get the recording of this as well. Our next session is going to be on Asia, giant region, entire continent. But we're going to have Ankur Malhotra from Amaris Records, as well as Omar Jafar from Small World Music and Global Toronto, in conversation next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. So we hope that you'll join us for that as well. And thank you so much again to Laia and for everybody watching today.
Yeah, and I want to say don't miss Ankur's talk. Ankur is almost a local in Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Explain. I throw to Ankur that he can explain how he's connected to Denmark. Cool.
Awesome.
And thank you for inviting me. This was amazing. I hope I meet all of you in person if I come to the conference. And again, I repeat, we are here to help you. So please contact us if you are coming to our region. We are here for you. We are amazing folks. We have amazing communities. So please visit the Nordic countries. And have a nice evening, day. I don't know what time is there.
4. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Yes.
Cool. Bye-bye.
Bye.